Again. Everybody, this is Brace. Thank you for stopping by and checking out another episode of Brace Philosophy. Thanks for checking out my site, braceland.tv. I'd like to talk a little bit more today about corporations, and really, we're talking about this election and everything that's going on, and it seems like all of these candidates, especially Republicans these days, they get elected largely by these super PACs that fund them. And the reason that these super PACs fund them is because it's basically like legal bribes. In other words, they get so much money, they put out so much propaganda and misinformation, they get the candidate they want to be elected as a president who will basically do their bidding. And a prime example of that would be the war in Iraq, when George W. and his gang of henchmen started a war, and really it's the people, corporations behind it that are making substantial amounts of money. Now, we went to Iraq for this reason about weapons of mass destruction, which we soon to find out that was just a big lie. And really the reason we went there is so we could steal the second largest reserve of oil in the world. And who profits from that? Oil companies, okay? Which is another reason why we've suppressed the use of electric cars and all that kind of technology, because these oil companies or cartels have so much money and they make so much money. Hey, why would we switch over to electric when they still have trillions and trillions of dollars to make, and in the process poison and toxify the world with more CO2, which is why we have this global warming. But hey, let's tell everybody that it's just a myth and it's really not true, even though it is true. So, you've got corporations like, again, the gas corporations. We've got BP, who had that big explosion. But yet the inspectors found there was a big crack in one of their apparatuses underwater, and they told them, hey, if you don't fix it, something bad's going to happen. Well, they denied it. They just said, oh, big deal. And of course it exploded and killed 11 people. No big deal. Because all they do is they pay off the people's families with a couple dollars, but in the process they made billions of dollars. But guess what? Nobody goes to jail. How come the CEO of BP, that big explosion, didn't go to jail for negligent homicide when they knew in fact that there was a big crack in their drilling apparatus or whatever, and they knew what was going to happen? They knew it was going to explode sometime, but they don't care. Then we could talk about the pharmaceutical companies. They come up with all these wild and crazy drugs, and then their buddies at the FDA will allow anything to be okayed for public consumption, when then they find out 5 years later that some product or some pill they made for anti-anxiety or heartburn or whatever killed thousands of people. So now there's lawsuits. They pay off the families, big deal. Takes 5, 10 years, they'll get caught up in court for years and years and years, but in the process they made billions of dollars. That's just how they do business. They don't care because they're not accountable. And if you do any further research, you'll find out that a lot of these FDA commissioners, after they're done at the FDA, have sweet jobs lined up for them at the pharmaceutical companies. You want to know why? Because they're corrupt. They agreed to get all these drugs passed before, drugs that shouldn't be passed, and in the process they said, hey buddy, get these drugs passed through, and hey, we'll have a cushy job lined up for you when you're done over here. Why not?